I'd like to first thank the organizers for inviting us to give a presentation just on regards to karma and how we're involved with the research that's happening with the porcupine caribou. I don't come here with a PowerPoint or any stuff related to technical stuff, mainly because, and this is for the writers and the young scientists that are up and coming, because one of the things you'll notice is in Aboriginal communities, people don't really like graphs or numbers, so word to the wise. Pictures, yes. I'd like to also say that I sacrificed my spring hunting to come here to give a presentation to the young scientists, because I feel that this is really important and it's going to go a long way. As we speak, people in Old Crow, where I lived for the past 15 years, are harvesting, are doing their spring harvesting. The caribou is migrating through Old Crow, and they're filling up their freezers. Wendy talked about their freezers before, so it just gave me an indication that, well, my freezer is empty and I got no way to get caribou. So thank you once again. I guess I'll just give a little idea of myself and how I got involved with the Porcupine Caribou Management Board. I've been, after high school, I decided to live the subsistence lifestyle. I did that for 20 years, and it was such a, I don't know, I don't know the word for it, but as I come to think of it now, those were the best years of my life, just living off the land. 15 years ago, when I decided to move back into the community to help my community grow, I decided that I guess I came into this position quite by accident. When I did actually come off the land, there was a need for people to go down to the United States to lobby, but I don't like to use the word lobbying. I like to use the word educating the grassroots people in the United States about why it's so important to protect the Arctic refuge. And at that time, there was an opening for work on the Porcupine Caribou Management Board. And it just so happened that I was appointed for 5 years. 12 years later, I'm still working for the Porcupine Caribou Management Board. But it's my passion, because it's what I live. And you know, with the Porcupine Caribou Management Board, our main mandate, I guess, is for the health of the porcupine caribou. Also, the habitat range of the porcupine caribou has to be protected. And I guess one of the most important things with the board is making sure that there's continuance, meaning that there's always that interaction between caribou and people, and the caribou is always there for the people. We deal with 8 communities in the Yukon Northwest Territories. User communities, we call them, because they really depend on the porcupine caribou herd for their diet. We also have 4 communities in Alaska that are Gutchin, right across the northern continent of Alaska, Yukon Territory, and Northwest Territories. The 14 native user communities are strategically and geographically located along the migration route of the porcupine caribou. One of the things that is really important to the board and to the northern communities is climate change. And I hear a lot of talk about climate change over the past 3 days. Climate change is really a concern to the Aboriginal communities. I remember back in 1981, I believe, when we were still living out on the land, between Christmas and New Year, we got rain. And that was the first time ever when people were going out checking their trap lines and working out on the land, and there was rain at that time. And this was really unexpectedly given to us, I guess. But our people, through traditional knowledge, have always said that because of the disturbance of the land, things were going to change, and things were going to change drastically. Back in 2001, we had the privilege of sitting along the banks of the Porcupine River and watching the caribou cross. And Don is the one that was talking about how there was a late migration. That was the first time ever that we ever saw the porcupine caribou cows dropping their young 500 miles south of the Arctic Refuge. And it wasn't a very pretty sight, especially when they need to be at the Arctic Refuge at that time, basically for their diet, and they need the peace and comfort, I guess, of the land there. And that's why it's so important that the Aboriginal people are trying to protect the Arctic Refuge from oil and gas development. Climate change, like I said, is very important, and people are really need to know information from scientists in regards to what's happening. Having said that, Aboriginal people also want to be involved. But how are we involved? How do we get involved, and what's the process of partnering up? Before land claims, it was a free-for-all. Scientists came in with no protocol arrangement with First Nations. They came in, did their thesis, they did their studies, and then they went back out with no acknowledgement to the Aboriginal people or to the communities, and nothing was given back to the communities. We have land claims now in pretty well all of the Yukon and Northwest Territories. Every community, every tribe has a land claims agreement. In the land claims agreement, it states specifically that in order to do any research work on their traditional lands, they have to go through a series of steps to get in there. And the main thing is that when the research is done, the ownership goes to the First Nation. So that's a real new one. Before, like I said, those things didn't happen. I can recall times have changed so much. Really, a lot has changed. I remember back in 1980 or 1978, we were going back to our trap line, and there was a seismic camp crossing our trap line, and there was no acknowledgement of what was happening, who the seismic companies were, and it just shows. I'm just giving you an example of how things have changed and how things have evolved over the past years, and I think these are positive things that are happening. We have a lot of partnerships now with research, and I think the IPY is a good example of how Aboriginal people are getting involved, and also not only getting involved, but getting the information that they really need. Our people are very simple people. They're very traditional. As you can see, amongst you, there's not very many Aboriginal people in the field of science, but we're taking baby steps. Eventually, down the road, we hope to have our own scientists and our own research people. But how do we do that? And I think this is a good time, I guess, to mention that in order for our people to move forward in the scientific world, we have to start doing job shadowing or partnering up with the communities and getting people out there involved in doing studies with scientists.